You're listening to Tour Tech, your 5 weekly takeaways to tourism success. This series is brought to you by the Digital Tourism Think Tank in partnership with the European project Tourbit, which is co-financed by the European Commission's COSME program for SMEs. I'm Nick Hall, founder of the Digital Tourism Think Tank, joined by our series co-host Marie Texier, looking after Tourbit for Paris & Co. And each week, we'll be bringing you insightful discussions with tourism SMEs undergoing digital transformation together with the innovative tech partners who are guiding them on that journey. Today, we're connecting with Thomas Wieser from Camping Sass, which holds the prestigious claim to being the highest camping ground in the Dolomites, and Peter Licen from Lushna, a highly conceptual business working within the camping and glamping sector to bring a more premium offer to the market. In this episode, you'll learn more about the importance of digital mindset and how incorporating digital approaches at the very core of the business is key to being competitive at every single level, from brand and market differentiation to managing the bottom line. You'll also hear different views on how AI and tools like ChatGPT are shaping business processes today.
What I really enjoyed about this discussion is the entrepreneurship background of Peter and Thomas and how they are building their camping and their startup on sustainability objectives, having always in mind also business objectives. So it's not only about digitalization, but it's also about the mindset you should have when you build a company.
Let's take a listen.
Hello, my name is Peter Licen. I'm from Slovenia. I'm a CEO of Lushna company. Our mission is actually to change the beautiful natural environment into successful businesses and that provide very special experiences to their guests. So we have our own production for 5 years now, and we are specialized on so-called cabin hotels, and we design, develop, and produce the cabins and different structures for the destinations.
My name is Thomas Wieser, and I am an engineer as background. And 8 years ago, I started a company that operates in the hospitality industry. We purchased the Camping Sass Dlacia and the Hotel Uite de Birds. Those are both beautiful locations up in the Dolomites, high in the mountains. And we came up to develop those destinations with our industrial and engineering background, and we would like to create something different in the hospitality industry. We came up with some ideas to develop our destination, and as a matter of fact, we started to work together with Peter and his company, and we had a very successful story where we implemented 16 of Peter's cabins, and those have brought us an immense visibility on the online. And even with Peter, we try now to develop additional cabins for our campground.
For people that are listening to us and don't know what is a cabin, maybe Peter, can you describe what is a cabin and how we can picture ourselves sleeping in it?
Yeah, cabins can be many things, but basically we bet on specific style of cabins. We say that our cabins are as big as their view. We try to eliminate everything from our cabins that is disturbing the main experience, which is nature around them. So normally this is 1 or 2 space cabins with minimal amenities that actually you can spend really comfortable 2 or 3 days in it. You could spend longer, but they are meant for tourism. The focus was tourism and guests that are short-term guests. So the guests who come over the weekends or for a week and they want to spend really a special time with a special experience. So close to nature, but still with the comfort on the level of, let's say, 4-star, 5-star hotel. So that's the cabin for us. This is how we describe the cabin. What we do basically, it's also, we produce them completely out of the natural materials. It's all wood, also it's isolated for 4 seasons. So they're appropriate to use in alpine areas or anywhere else, basically. So this for us is a cabin.
And Thomas, why did you decide to invest in cabins for your camping?
The thing is, we started to understand the tourism after 2 years of managing the campground. We understood that we wanted to create something special, unique, but very simple. And we had a lot of companies that we were looking at, but Peter's cabin were just what we were looking at, even from a sustainability standpoint, which is really high in our philosophy. And we wanted to create something that was a little bit special, like something so simple. You have to think it's just a bed with a window and no bathroom. The bathroom is in the main building, so it still keeps the camping feeling, but it transports our customer base out of the RV section. So basically everybody with a car can drive up the weekends, as Peter said, and we can understand how this was very important for us. We can see right now that our numbers are the first month that we opened up the cabins, we had like 78% occupancy rates. So it was a very successful story. We are still working on it. We could see even a lot of influencer or Instagram reels and posts that are right now in the internet are bringing us a lot of visibility for the whole campground.
And talking about the internet, can you give us example of how you are managing the company from a digitalization point of view? Are you using a special tool and process to attract tourists in your campground?
We use a lot of technology. Technology is the main sector where we invested heavily since the beginning. And the fact is that everything is in the background. So hospitality is mostly people to people. So it's a lot of empathy. It's a lot of, I call it psychology, but at the background for all the operations to keep everything up in place, we need a huge amount of technology. We host about 1,000 people in our campground and can reach 93,000 overnight stays with both locations. So in order to manage this, we need a lot of digitalization. So we went through a lot of softwares. The best softwares for us that we use is a task management system called Asana. We use obviously the PMS or the ERP system for managing the customer side, but even the supplier side in restaurants or the F&B sector.
And with your collaboration with Peter, how digitalization helped you to implement cabins?
Something like this, like developing relationship with customers long distance, 10 years would be almost close to impossible. So we use all the communication tools available, more or less, and we can share from plans, from ideas, from concepts down to basically the progress in the production at the end. So it helps a lot to stay in contact with the customer through the whole process of design, development, and also production of the cabins. And this for us is really important because we treat the customers as partners and we want them to be on top on what's happening with their investment, actually.
What is funny about this discussion is that your product and what you offer is about giving to the tourist a natural and authentic experience, being away from phones and digging the nature, while your company are super digital to work and also to attract customers. So I like the fact you offer something close to the nature, and at the same time, your company to be efficient need to be super connected.
Yeah, it's a paradox, basically. I generally believe that the design is management of paradoxes, different paradoxes, like the same with our cabins. The main design feature that we always talk about is balance between openness to the nature and privacy and the comfort and also the security you feel inside of the cabins. And the same, I think, is actually with use of digital tools. There's like infinitive possibilities with digital tools, but you have to really know what you want to achieve so you can get the best out of it. So you don't start with digitalization like, okay, we want to get digitalized, or we want to do this and this, but we checked in which areas of our communication or production or development actually we can benefit from the use of digital tools, and we implemented them heavily. For instance, when we are designing, company like ours would probably need a generation or two to come to the level that we did now, like 20 years ago. But with the help of digital tools, we can develop and test a lot of our ideas on the prototype level, so we can do the digital prototyping. And also we can show our customers much better how our ideas or our approach or our development is going to be implemented on their resort or greenfield development or camping, like in Thomas's case. So it helps us a lot. The other thing is the communication inside of the company, like with the customers. Actually, this is one of the main things that actually changed a lot in the last 10 years. So it's because of digital tools, it's much more horizontal, it's much more effective, it's much faster. And this is why even startup mentality like we see today is possible to develop, because you have to understand when you go from a classical development principle, which is more or less in line. You develop something, you put it to your marketing team, and they have to sell it, whatever it is. Now we call it like the lean development, which is nothing clean by its process, because it comes with a lot more of communication, because everybody is involved all the time. But digital tools enable us to do this like in quite seamless way. And yeah, maybe the answer to your original question, yes. The product, we try to design escape from digital. So we use digital tools actually to eliminate all the distractions, especially digital ones, at the end of the experience of our product. So because we understand, we actually bet on this from the beginning, that because we go more and more digital in everyday life, the value of the experiences that are not digital is going to grow, and also the demand for these kind of values. And especially in Corona times, this proved actually that we are on the right track. And also from then on, we have more and more inquiries because especially of this approach that we have. So yes, very digital process and organization, but to secure the totally disconnected experience for the end customer.
I agree with Peter. One thing which is for us as a small company, those digital tools gave us the possibility to grow much faster, much better, and having track on our projects and on different areas. As a small entrepreneur, you need to know everything from human resources to F&B to anything in our small little company, and nowadays with the digitalization, we can save firstly a lot of time, a lot of travel costs. And in addition to that, we can provide a better service.
And if I take the example of your collaboration, let's pretend I am a camping in Belgium and I want to work with you, Peter, Lushna, and implement cabin, but I don't know how it's going to be in the landscape, if I have enough space and so on. What is the step-by-step process to implement your cabin on my camping?
I mean, our specific is that we have a deep background in the development of destinations. Like I said, producing cabins is something that we do like last 5 or 6 years, and we started this because we couldn't find companies that were willing to work with us. So basically, when you come to us, first of all, I believe that hospitality is sharing your values and experiences, and this is what we always do. So when you come to us and you say, okay, I have this kind of destination, I want to invest this in this way and that way, we always propose first the development process. It's because we have like 15 years of experience developing this kind of destinations. So what we believe in, that we always develop destinations out of their own existing identity. And the reason is because if you just follow trends, in time you develop a destination, you're probably going to be out of the trend already, because the trends are changing super fast. But if you develop your own identity, it's definitely going to be unique through time, and it's also the most sustainable identity you can even build on top of it later in your life. So this is my advice also for anybody who goes into this, that actually they try to define their own identity, or they develop it from existing identity. Or this is a place, so the natural environment, the cultural environment, and also personally of the people who will manage, or the owner basically of destination. So this is from my point of view, the best approach from developing destination. So we always adapt. This also reflects on our approach. So when we are developing the destinations, normally we do it in a way that we spend with the whole team. So this means like marketing, program development, landscape architects and architects. Normally this is team like this. Basically 1 week on location. So we really understand the location itself and also the consequences of our interventions.
So when you come for 1 week, do you have a prototype already you can implement to figure out how the cabin is going to fit in the camping, for example?
Yeah, we developed a specific type of quite fast development because in difference from the traditional development, which normally goes from identity to program and then to space. And then the lean approach is actually to start with all of these experts at the same time. So they influence on each other's ideas and works. And this way we can come much faster to much better solutions. So what we do in this time of 1 week, we work physically, so we just bring one big maquette on the table, and we invite all the stakeholders as much as possible, from the investor to the managers if they are involved, to their own experts, to the local community. So, I don't know, firefighters, mayor, representatives of local communities, or anybody who wants to see or cooperate on this process. We bring them to the table. And this has two positive effects. One is that we get much better insight on the location. So beyond its environment that we are putting this new idea into, so we can adapt it. And the other is actually we inform the local environment already about what is going to be there, how it's going to develop. So it presents much less problems or obstacles later in the process of the development of destinations.
And Thomas, for example, how long did it take to implement the first cabin in your place?
So from the designing perspective, we started many years ago to understand what we wanted and see to kind of like find a proper location where to install those cabins. Then we went to Peter after an initial email correspondence. We drove down to Slovenia, spent a couple of days there with Peter, exchanged some philosophy, some ideas. And after that, Peter, what was it, like 6 months? We had 16 cabins in place.
Yes, I think from the first contact to this was super fast. Actually, it went super fast.
So we installed 16 cabins at once, and it took us 1.5 to 2 months from starting the project to the end of the project, the construction project.
That's great. So everyone that is listening to us and is interested in implementing cabins, it can go super fast for the high season.
This is because it's also what we do. We combine the production logic, so industrial production with the cabins, and on the other side, give the customers limited but still a range of changing and adapting the cabins to their needs or demands. This makes us much faster because we actually produce cabins in a production space, not outdoors, so in controlled environment, and we industrialize the process of the development. So we are not a typical house builders, like you know them, or the cabin builders, especially in this market. There is not a lot of companies like us. I always, when I'm joking, I say that actually we take tiny cabins seriously as a product, and it's true. So all the production plans are basically on level of industrial, right? This is one of the digitalization actually that it made us possible to do this. And so this means we are much faster, not just in production, but also on the location, because all the cabins come on the location or in modules, or the smaller ones in wall panels, so we can be much faster. And also we can have much better quality of the control, time, and cost at the end. So that's the reason why we can be so fast.
And from a sustainable point of view, Thomas, I know that your camping is really involved in ecological action. So how does the cabin fit in your values and green guidelines?
First and foremost, it's not a big impact of like a massive building in nature, just like a tiny cabin. The materials that are used is mostly larch, so which is kind of like a material that is here in the area, and it blends very well with the environment. The second thing is we understand that tourism will never be, how can I say, completely sustainable. In my opinion, we try to reduce the impact as much as we can. Obviously, there is like even the carbon footprint offsetting and those nuances that you can apply. But in this case, the cabins itself, it's just like literally from a construction perspective, they blend perfectly in the environment. And that was our first decision why we choose those cabins.
Yeah, we understand the sustainability, the connection between, like decade ago, this was quite a open discussion, but it dispersed a bit, that basically ecology and economy should go hand in hand. Because one thing is, like Thomas said, our presence on this planet, actually, not just tourism, is never going to be ecological. And what we try to do, and what was the mission of the Lushna from the beginning, is actually to connect people back with nature, to reconnect people back with nature, and with minimal impact to environment. So the thing is actually what we believe, that bringing the people back to nature and to the close experience of nature actually in general will benefit and will influence their views to the nature. So they're gonna realize that this is one precious thing that we still have, that it's becoming luxurious basically. And this is the attitude that we try to influence, and we hope they're going to bring this experience back to where they live and where they operate and work differently, yeah? Because of that.
It makes sense. And I really like your vision of going hand to hand with the environment and also the economical duty we need to do.
Yeah. In economic parties like this, you can have the most ecological product on the planet, but if it's not economically feasible, nobody's going to use it. So it doesn't make any sense. So you have to take care that these two things are in balance. Yeah?
It's a great advice for the business. And Thomas, can you share with us some example of your strategy to make tourists and customer aware of your initiative, and how did you end up having so many people coming to your camping? Can you share with us the strategy you implemented from a digital point of view?
The digital point of view that we implemented started with a nice and solid web page where we could apply some widgets that are, for example, a concierge app, or widgets for booking engines, or widgets that are for activities that we can sell. All those widgets created as well a system where we started to eliminate printable material. So we don't print anything. We don't have handouts. We ask people to use our webpage where they can find all the information about the location, all the information about their stay, safety regulations, and anything that you need for a vacation. In addition to that, as I mentioned before, into our background, there are plenty of operations that are organized. For example, our staff, we have an app called Connect Team where we can schedule their work hours, we can schedule day offs, we can schedule many other things, or we can organize our work through a task management system where everybody has an idea. Even from one perspective, they're way more productive, but they can even add value and their own ideas into our project. And we have around 20 to 30 people into this task management system. And all of them are responsible of certain areas. As for example, everything which is formation of our staff applies nowadays into digital technology, where they can watch the videos, they can take courses. And in Italy, you have a regulation where every staff needs to make 8 hours of safety training. Everything like this is applied into these digital technologies that we apply into our campground. Numbers, for example, our growth rates are on an average of 30% growth per year, year over year. And without technology, this wouldn't be even possible.
For us also, for instance, the technology is super important in communication. Like I'd explained before, this demands that everybody on the team, is it from the architect to the worker to the cleaning lady, understands what we are doing. So they are not actually working for us, but they are creating this, whatever we do together. Because it doesn't matter where idea comes from. It just matters if it makes product better or not. So this enables everybody to participate. And of course, before this digital technology, this would be a mess of the meetings. We would just have probably 5 hours of meetings every day to let everybody participate. But in this way, we use the digital platform. Like we use one thing which is quite simple and trivial, which is called Workflowy, but it's like one big company brain when everything is in, and it's also stays in, because this is interesting part of it, because sometimes some ideas that you have, like, I don't know, 5 years ago, can come to shine later on. And it's really cool that you can pull it back from the archives and work on it again. So this, if you can imagine doing this in paper or just in talks, this was impossible.
Can you say again the name of the tool?
It's Workflowy. It's actually free tool to some point. Yeah, it's something that actually what we do. I think it is really important that when you're small, especially if you're a small company, that you stay open. My problem with today's world in general is super specialization. So this means that actually people are really good in just one thing or the other thing, and actually this kind of industry demands it. I'm quite the opposite. I think actually you don't need to know everything, but you have to be educated at what exists and what are the possibilities out, just for the case, so you can always use the best tools for your needs. And in this case, for us, we tried many different communication systems and stuff, but we came back to something that we stole from IT that, I don't know, 5-6 years ago when we started using it, was just solely used for the IT guys for coding, because it enables them to work with the code and stuff. But it's quite simple, let's say, ecosystem that works for us perfectly. There is a lot of systems around, but you have to find really the one that works for you.
Yeah, it's a good tip you are giving. Starting for free, just to see what you need, and then going more specialized once you know what you need exactly.
Also, communication tools, I like that. You have normally, of course, they are not done specifically for one company, and all the companies are a bit different. It's like a families, every families, we have some common problems or challenges, but we are all different. And it's really important that actually a lot of software today is done for everybody, and this can overclutter and overcomplicate your communication. So we were always searching for, like in design, the same way, to eliminate everything you don't need and just use the things actually. People think that more is better, but especially in communication, if you can simplify, you should do it.
Yep. And Thomas, so you are using Asana, and do you have other tools that people that are listening to us would be interested in?
Yes, the thing that we are using a lot, specifically in marketing and communication, is obviously artificial intelligence like ChatGPT. That gave us a time to market for our posts or for our communication with the customers. We cut it down from 4 days to 10 minutes. Additionally, as I said before, Asana is our operative system that we use for everything. And despite some limitations of the software, we had to search, for example, for the employee management. We use Connect Team. It's a tool that's a little bit pricey, but it does a really good job, especially in our tourism industry, where scheduling the work of our line workers is very complicated, especially in the restaurant business. Connect Team was a great tool for bypassing that difficulty. We use Dropbox, where we have everything in store with really clean and procedures for our drives, let's put it this way, where everybody can find anything if they need to, with specific layers of access. And we use Microsoft Office as the basic communication tool.
Thank you for sharing that. I will go back to ChatGPT. I'm really interested to understand how you are using it. Is it, for example, to write the post? You are using prompt engineering. Can you give us an example of the use of ChatGPT?
I mean, for us, the ChatGPT, or for me personally, is basically a mailing tool. It makes a huge difference. Actually, I have to process quite a lot of mails daily, and it speeded up my process. Probably I gain 1 day per week since this technology is around. But this is just the basic use, actually. For the design, actually, the tool is not there yet, but I have a high hopes, especially when it comes to a level that actually we can do the machine learning on our existing production plans, and it can help us with that. So I definitely think that in the future, this technology is going to bring a big change in production on any level, is it digital or physical.
So now I know that when I receive an email from you, It's ChatGPT that is emailing me, right? I'm just joking.
Yeah, you know what it is? We are not English. I'm not a native speaker. And I'm also dyslexic. This actually is also another thing. So for me, writing emails was like, and I really want to write emails that are not just bullets, that actually that have a content, because today the problem is, we have all these tools, but the communication goes poorer and poorer. People are not writing anymore. They are just sending messages. And I want to keep my emails and my communication on a, let's say, human level. And that's why I help myself sometimes with ChatGPT. So it makes my text better, more understandable. I never just roll it through it, but basically it's just a tool that helps me do the task faster, and I always have to adapt stuff. I always have to edit the mails I'm sending. So yeah, it's still me, but with a tool.
Yeah, same here. And it improves a lot the communication.
I noticed already by response of whoever I'm communicating, because before I could communicate, but not on the level I want. Like I said, I'm not a native speaker. So in this way, I can really express what I want just in the right way, because for me, communication is not saying something, but making the other party understand what you wanted to say in the way you wanted to say. So this is where I get help from chat a lot.
Thank you, Peter, for sharing that. And to be honest, I also use ChatGPT to correct my English a lot of time so I can understand what you are meaning. And Thomas, for your communication, can you, for example, when you say that you are using ChatGPT for communication and it decreases the hour by 1 day to 4 hours, can you give us an example so we can really understand and maybe replicate what you are doing?
An example would be in our marketing, as we operate in a place where we need to speak 4 languages. So German, Latin, Italian, and English. And in the last period of year, we had a lot of Dutch people and a lot of French people. So with ChatGPT, basically, we can create text and we can translate those in matter of seconds, and we can just proofread them, and then they go out online. For example, we had a project where we started to create waste islands into the campground so that we can do a better waste management. And for all the information that we needed to apply on this, we just used ChatGPT, and it worked out perfectly.
Thank you so much for sharing that with us. I think it's really helpful. I would like to ask you if you have some key learning and best practices you would like to share. It can be about your collaboration. It can be about how we can use digital solution, anything that comes to your mind.
What I understood is in the last period, people are just different on what my mindset about work is or was. I can see that the new generation, they are much more interested in a project than a company or than a simple work. I can see that hospitality or at the company level, everything is just about people. And I started to focus on those people. So on my employees, I would like to understand what they would like to achieve in the 6 months period of work that they have, like in a summer season, or if they would like to stay longer. So the thing is, we would like to understand what they can add value and work for something which is not just a 9-to-5 job or something like that, but they can apply some values as well. And that's very difficult as an entrepreneur. You always want to do how you want to do the stuff. But if you want to share the project and the growth rate, so you need to be willing to give up some of your ego and understand that the project is made out of all the people that are into the company. So a lot of entrepreneurs, what they do is they personalize themselves in the company. But in our case, I try to be much more in the background and keep my stuff in the front.
Yeah, I definitely agree here. Although sometimes this is hard because you still have to drive the boat into one certain direction. I mean, preferably. And I think it's really important that you find yourself, that you surround yourself, not maybe not just in business, but also generally in life, with the people that you share the values with, sometimes also experiences, but the values. So and that you're quite clearly communicating from the beginning on what you want to achieve, how they can participate in this story that you're building together. But the fact is, I know it sometimes sounds like cliche or whatever, but it's true, we are all just partners in the process, something that workers in the factory can do, I cannot, or I don't have time to do it. I cannot do everything. And I'm better for a certain work. So it's not like who does the more work, but every of us has a specific talent, and actually to recognize that talent and give him space to grow. This is something that I want to have around me for anybody, I'm quite certain that somebody is really great in cutting the wood and they enjoy it. So that's my goal, basically, to have a company that everybody likes to come to. There is no special program, no Google stuff on the Fridays, no special boosting of our company's social environment, but that we all love and enjoy in what we do. So this is something it's really important.
As you said, Peter, I totally agree about the values. So creating a strong company culture with sound values that are shared between the team can move mountains. So the thing is, if you focus on that, then the rest will be taken care of, because there is so much work to do. Work is never ending. And if you are by yourself, you will never be able to achieve maybe your goals or goals that you will or plans that you have or projects or whatever. So the thing is, if you have a strong team, you can manage it and you can lead the team towards those goals with the company culture.
Yeah, I got a really good advice from an American lady manager that she said you should just work on things that you are excellent in and find the people who can actually help you to do other things. And actually, because we always think that there is a good work or a bad work, but I don't think this exists. It's like with music, there is no genre of music is good or bad. You just have a good music or bad music, and there are some people who like one or some people the other, and it's not wrong, right or wrong.
The other thing is, as we talk about people, a second advice would be to focus on the customer, because at the end, it's the customer who makes you, if you win or lose the day. The customer is actually the one who pays for the ideas that are on the background. If the cabin wouldn't be nice, if the location wouldn't be nice, if the services wouldn't be nice, the customer wouldn't be satisfied. And that ultimately would bring the company down, obviously, in this case. So the fact that we focus on the customers, both Peter and me, are very, very, we had a lot of discussion about this, actually.
Yeah, I mean, this is great, because what I always say, the focus should be a product, not who does it, why does it, who's a part of it, but product. And for me, I always, when I talk to the students about different stuff, I ask them first, what do you think your product is? And rarely you get the response. The product is the customer's experience. And in our case, there are two customers in play. If you're like an investor, for you, the process has to be seamless and you have to get what you want, what you expected in time you expected. And on the other side, also the end customer, that we should provide them the experience that is going to be special, different, and something they can only get from us. And this is something that everybody in the company understands this. I always tell, I'm not boss. I'm not a boss of everybody working here. The customer is, because we work for the customer, not for any of us. Yeah, if you want to simplify it. And the other thing is, actually, if I change the topic a bit, is one thing I would like to share also is successful destinations, in my experience, are based on two things. One is good relationships, like we talked, and the other is actually a progressive attitudes in common, and the other is a lot of mistakes. This sounds funny, but through all the years that we develop things, we notice that the projects that we do a lot of together with the customer, a lot of mistakes on it are the best ones. But you have to make the mistakes on the paper at the beginning. You shouldn't be afraid, actually, to like you said, Thomas, that you needed like 5 years or 4 years to come to this and develop it. This time is needed. You have to test a lot of things on paper before you decide, and then make a strong base through the concept of it, through the development, through the concept. And then from everything from then on should be just execution. And all the questions you have, all the doubts, actually, you should just test it. And this, like we discussed before, digital today actually enables us to test a lot of things preliminary before they are built or produced.
And technology is a way that we could discover that can help us do less mistakes. And we can even see some mistakes in advance. Let's put it this way. We have it's not a reactive mindset, but a proactive mindset that we could create. That's another good advice that I got from my previous work in the United States, like to be proactive or even predictive if possible.
Yeah, I think actually that technology enables us today to set the quite clear and stable processes. To be creative is actually in paradox to be organized. But you want your people to be creative. You know, you want the cleaning ladies to be actually creative so they see some potentials and they will take action on it. So if you have a steady, stable process, then people can relax because they know this process leads them to the demanded end, and then they can work on surplus. They can actually bring that a bit more to the table, which makes a big difference. And this, in my case, doesn't matter is it production or is it development or is it managing of the companies. But I think actually when this base is clear and stable, you can have an amazing team in action, you know.
Thank you so much because you just gave us a masterclass. I really enjoyed listening to all your advices. Thank you. What I like about this discussion is that you are super skillful and you have a background that we can learn from. And to avoid, as you said, or maybe to make mistakes, but at least to know what to implement and to know what to focus on first. I would like to ask you for travelers, for example, Thomas, how can customers find your place and how can they book to sleep in your cabin?
As we are heavily online, I would suggest to research the Dolomites, research where to go in the Dolomites, because the Dolomites are a small area in northern Italy, but it's still a vast area once you're here. So you have many locations that you can visit. Matter of fact, our campground is precisely next to one of those national parks. So it was pretty easy for us even to get some customer base from that beautiful location that we are right now. The second thing is booking is done on 3 ways, on 3 levels. One is you call. The second one, you send an email or a request. The third thing is you just go online or our webpage and you can book directly through our booking system. And the fact that we have this campground, which is in the Dolomites, very centrally located, gave us a huge boost once we started to digitalize the presence, our online presence.
Okay, so it's quite easy. We can go on your website and directly book online or by phone or by email. So perfect. Thank you so much. And Peter, for companies that are listening to this podcast and who would like to know more about your cabins, how can they reach you?
It's the same as in Thomas' case through our glamping, lushna.com or lushna.com. And there are contacts there, and there is a basic questionnaire, a lot of information on what we do and our products and everything. So I think it's quite a good way actually to get to know us in really general way. And then through contact, you just write us an email with whatever question you have, and normally takes us 1 or 2 days to respond. And then later on, we can always go on call. I personally, when I deal with the customers, I like to go on call because I believe actually that we can really exchange much more information through personal contact.
I totally agree with you. And just for the companies that are listening to us, you can ship your cabins throughout the world, right?
Yes, we are shipping worldwide. Actually, our strongest market is United States, but lately, also, especially this year, a lot of Europe, which we are super glad that this trend is also developing in the basically closer to us.
I think we can wrap this great discussion. Do you want to share one last word for our listeners?
From
Yes.
my side would be, if understood correctly, if those are small businesses, I highly recommend to research the internet for any tool that can be heavily helpful for some day-to-day operations, like ChatGPT or some other digital technologies that are available. And the second thing, we highly recommend to walk there. I don't want to greenwash anybody, but we understand that especially in this specific niche of the camping RV sector or camping parking sector, everything is very based on sustainability. So I would highly recommend technology and sustainability as an area of focus for the next couple of years, for sure.
Actually, to everybody who's searching for cabins and stuff, lately I noticed there is a lot of amazing 3D based things on the web, and also ChatGPT now can produce like mind-blowing images. But I suggest you visit Thomas's place, camping, and you experience it for yourself. This is something actually that means the most to us. So we can share something we designed, something that Thomas built, something that he's managing with the customers. And that's the experience I want you all to have.
Okay, so that was a really interesting conversation. What was the biggest takeaway for you?
I think it would be how we can link traditional hospitality with modern technological solutions and environmental responsibilities.
That's certainly a good thing to walk away from this interview with. But as always, we have to wrap it up in 5 key takeaways. So,
We see you next Monday.
and don't forget to hit subscribe. Here are our 5 key takeaways from this week's discussion. Number 1, sustainability. There is no doubt about it. The importance of being sustainable first, just as much as we advocate digital first, is a key differentiator for any business today. The focus that Thomas and Peter both place on this is just one aspect of what makes them stand out in the market and ultimately feeds into the competitiveness of their offer, which is all about appreciating the environment around us. Number 2, great technology drives business forward. We've heard this in every episode, and it is very clear how invaluable technology can be, not only in facilitating a particular element of our business, such as bookings, but also in driving the entire communication flow within the business, from project management to routine planning. Tools like Asana are key to making that shift towards becoming a truly agile business and meeting the ever-present need to adapt and pivot. All of this starts with excellent digital team workflow. Number 3, communication is essential. Stemming from that is the importance of excellent communication. This is both at a productivity level, working between, within, and amongst teams, where digital tools can create transparency and expediency, whilst on the other end of the scale, learning and applying human-centered design methods and principles allow us to apply empathy when we design for our users, and remembering to prototype, test, and learn as we launch and optimize. Number 4, design is twofold. In the last point, we talk about design in the context of design thinking. This essential method is key to succeeding in today's world, where we all need to somehow become digital experts. And we do that by thinking about the users and how they can shape and be part of shaping incredible user experiences. The other side of design, from a brand experience point of view, it's almost nothing to do with design thinking, yet somehow it does actually have a lot to do with design thinking. And here we can see that design really does matter in the user experience and how we build out service design. Both of today's guests understand that this is a key part of their business. It's what forms their competitiveness, not following trends, but setting their own course. And lastly, AI. In terms of generative AI, we're still in the very early stages. What we can already see is that its impact will be profound. Nowhere is this more felt than within the business operations, where new opportunities are enabling us to do more, deliver more, and bring about amazing operational efficiencies. Whether that's crafting social posts in batches, responding to emails, or taking the experience to the next level with deeper integration, there are so many new opportunities hidden in AI. We need to remain open, curious, and certainly embrace the next stage in this digital landscape. Ignore it at your peril. With that strong word of warning, this wraps up our 5 key takeaways for another week. Why not take a minute to let us know which productivity tools form part of your day-to-day? We would love to hear from you. You've been listening to Tour Tech. That's a wrap for another week. If you liked today's episode, be sure to leave a review and share amongst your networks across social. These two small actions make a really big difference. We appreciate the time you take to listen and, of course, to share. Make sure you don't miss future episodes. New episodes are released every Monday on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and all major podcasting platforms. So be sure to hit that subscribe button and get your podcasts every week in your inbox. Tourbit is a partnership co-funded by the European Commission's COSME program for small and medium-sized enterprises, and it's led by an incredible team of partners who are all as passionate about what they do as the businesses they're supporting. This includes the Catalan Tourist Board, Barcelona Chamber of Commerce, Paris & Co., Tourism 4.0 in Slovenia, Hub Brussels, Iceland's tourism cluster, the Lapland University of Applied Sciences, and NEST, the Tourism Innovation Centre in Portugal. On behalf of these incredible partners at Tourbit and the European Commission, and of course here at the Digital Tourism Think Tank, thanks for tuning in, and we look forward to seeing you next week.